Orla, welcome to the show.
Hi, Jamie. Thanks for having me.
She is sharing her pregnancy at 41, and boy, does she have an amazing story. Orla, will you tell us a little bit about yourself?
I'm mum of six. I've got Lachlan, who's four. I've got four angels, Regan, Riley, Quinn, and Kaylin. And also my little rainbow baby called Evelyn, who's 11 months. Also, I'm a dog mum, Molly, my spaniel, who's 3 in January. My lovely husband, Stuart. I'm from Galway, the west of Ireland originally, but I live in Leicestershire in the UK.
So she was pregnant at 41. That's our story that we're sharing. But her story kind of starts in her late 30s after she had her first pregnancy. So can you start us from there?
Yeah. So I met my husband on Tinder. I had never had any luck with men. And then I met my bearded husband in April 2018. It was a whirlwind romance, I suppose, with our age and everything. I was diagnosed with endometriosis in my early 30s, endometriosis stage 3. Before I met Stuart, I was begging my consultant to have a hysterectomy. I was in that much pain with my endometriosis.
Oh,
He was like, no, I want to give you the chance of family. I was like, I've been single for 4 years. Jesus. I'm never going to meet the right person. Little did I know my Stuart was around the block. Before I went on my first date, I said, if you want a family, if you want children, I'm probably not the best person for you because I've been told that my endometriosis is just getting worse and I might never be a mum. I've been told that by 3 consultants previous. So
wow.
I pushed him away constantly because I was going through trauma therapy for domestic abuse and my past for PTSD. I pushed Stuart far away from me constantly and he just kept coming back. He gave me the space I needed. I did 4 months of intense narrative exposure therapy with the trauma unit to deal with my past. And then I could move on and have a life with Stuart. And that's what I did. He moved in with me. I had surgery in December 2018 for endometriosis. It's there when my consultant said to me, you have the most tiniest ovaries I've ever seen. If you release an egg, it will be a miracle.
Oh
His
my
exact
gosh.
words. Yeah, he said, if you're not pregnant in 3 months, I'm referring you for IVF because I'd never, ever gotten pregnant with any previous partner or anything.
Uh-huh.
When he did that surgery, I also had a septate uterus. So they actually reduced my risk of miscarriage from 40% to 25% during that surgery. Yeah.
Wow.
It's probably because of that surgery that I have my little boy, Lachlan, really. So it is. So then he said to me, I've given you 3 months to conceive, and if you don't, you're coming back to the fertility clinic, and then we'll refer you for IVF for fertility treatment. I was like, oh my God. And I was like, but we only met. Do you know what I mean? We weren't even a year together. And we were like, oh man, it was just like, what do you do in this situation? I knew that Stuart was the one I wanted to be with for the rest of my life. He knew the same. So we just said, you know what, we'll just go for it. We started trying to conceive 6 weeks after surgery. Luckily, I didn't realize I have what's called ovulation, the hyper you ovulate quite quick. What's it? There's a word for it. My consultant told me that I catch quickly. I catch a pregnancy very quickly. We were actually blessed with our lovely Lachlan. We started trying for him the end of January and we caught very quickly within the first 2 weeks of trying for him.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so it was meant to be because I'd
Yeah.
never ever been pregnant with any other previous partner. On the 6th of March, it's quite sad. It's happy but sad. I've been feeling sick for a couple of weeks and I love my tea. I'm Irish. I absolutely love my tea. I felt really nauseous and we were wondering whether we were. And they were like, we hadn't been trying to conceive for long. We said, we'll do a test anyway. We had a test and it was 5:15. And I will never, ever forget it. On the 6th of March, I did a test and it was positive. And we just burst into tears. I couldn't believe it. But unfortunately, just over 5 hours later, I got a call from home to say that my grandmother had passed away
Oh,
on the same day. It was happy news and then devastating sadness.
yeah. Tell us what
Um,
your grandmother said.
and when I went over to my grandmother's funeral, I told my mum that I was about 4 weeks, 5 weeks pregnant with Lachlan, probably 4 weeks pregnant. She said that before she passed away, she said that there was a baby coming into the family, and that baby was my Lachlan,
Oh,
which is absolutely amazing. I ended up going into hospital with pains after we come back from the funeral. They thought it might have been endometriosis, but because I was pregnant, they thought it might have been an ectopic. They had to rule out that Lachlan's pregnancy wasn't an ectopic. Thankfully, it wasn't. Because of my septate uterus, although I had the surgery, I was still a high risk pregnancy. I was high risk of having Lachlan before 24 weeks. I was living in Nottingham, where I was working as a hepatitis nurse specialist at the time, so a liver nurse specialist. We were referred under a specialist in fecal medicine at the time. I had to have scans every 2 weeks with Lachlan.
Wow.
I had something like 24 scans in total. I paid
Wow.
for 3 private scans and had like about, I don't know, 21 scans with the NHS.
Uh-huh.
That's how high risk he was.
When did you give birth to him? How far along were you?
I was 38 weeks and 1 day and a C-section. There's a number of reasons why I had him by a C-section. First, mentally, physically, I didn't think I would be strong enough because of my endometriosis. It was so painful. And also because of the septate uterus, I was at risk of bleeding basically during natural delivery because my uterus wouldn't contract back. That was another worry. Mentally, I was absolutely terrified. I had prenatal anxiety as well with this pregnancy. So they gave me the option to have him via C-section or a natural delivery.
To carry him to 38 weeks, and they thought 24. Yeah. What happened after that? Your pregnancies following after that?
When Lachlan was 8 months old, myself and Stuart decided to try for a sibling. The same thing happened. I caught quite quickly. I found out I was pregnant that August in the middle of lockdown. It was the same symptoms. It was different bleeding wise, I suppose. I bled on Lachlan when I was 10 and a half weeks pregnant, and I was terrified I was going to lose him. I was in the middle of a bra fit and I needed the toilet, and I went into the bathroom in a department store here in England and Ireland, and I saw blood, bright red blood. I absolutely panicked and the blood just wouldn't stop. Luckily, it was the false alarm with Lachlan. Some women bleed more than others, and it's not a miscarriage. Because that happened, I tried to relax when I saw blood. I rang up the early pregnancy unit and they said, unless you're bleeding golf ball amount of blood, it's nothing to worry about. So we went to our early scan and we thought I was miscarrying. There was actually 2 babies. Sorry. We were pregnant with twins. They were in the same sack. Because I was bleeding so much, they said they needed to rebook us a scan. I went like 10 days or something. We were told that there was no heartbeat for either of them.
I'm so sorry.
And the twins were gone. Sorry.
Orla, thank you for sharing. Oh, these are so hard for all of us. On this show, it's really important that we share our losses because we aren't alone. We've all possibly gone through this. So thank you.
So I named my twins Regan and Riley. I found out later in my spiritual journey that they're 2 girls, identical twin girls. But it doesn't end there, unfortunately. Stuart had asked me to marry him. I still got married. Wow. I don't have wedding pictures up in the house or anything because I was still carrying this longer story. I ended up having an incomplete miscarriage. So that Friday, I found out that I had miscarried or was miscarrying my twins girls. I would like to pass them naturally because I don't want to be in the hospital. It's just horrific.
I'm sure you felt alone.
I had an incomplete miscarriage, so I had to be scheduled after my wedding for that. It's called a manual evacuation or something.
What an awful thing to go through.
I hate the word miscarriage for a start. Anyway, baby loss, early baby loss. Like when I lost my twins, people were like, "Oh, how far along were you?" And I absolutely hate that question. How far along? Do you know what I mean?
It doesn't matter.
To me, gestation does not matter.
Yeah, it's all hard.
I don't think people should compare grief. And then although like myself and my husband Stuart were absolutely and utterly devastated, we thought it might have been just bad luck. So then we said that time is not on our side because of me having stage 3 endometriosis. Lachlan was a miracle baby as it is. I never ever expected to fall pregnant, never mind with twins. And so I said, we had this conversation, will we try again? And we did. But unfortunately, just over 6 weeks, we're told that another girl, Quinn, was no heartbeat and she was gone.
Oh.
So by then it's not bad luck. Over here, there's what's called a recurrent miscarriage clinic. It's Tommy's. They're a well-known clinic. I rang my GP and I told him that I had another baby loss. I begged him, can I be referred to Tommy's? And he was like, you have to lose 3 babies to be referred to Tommy's. And I said, what do you think twins are? I said, they don't share a heart. They're 3, it is 3 babies. I've lost 2 twins. And with my age, I was coming up to 40 at this stage. I want to be referred to Tommy's recurrent miscarriage clinic. Thankfully, I had to argue my case, but I said I had lost 3 babies.
Yeah. Good for you for advocating for yourself.
Also, they have another clause that you have to be over a certain age as well to get to be referred. I think it's over 35, 36, but don't quote me on that. I said that I'm trying to give my son a living sibling, and I've had basically 3 losses. I was referred to a fantastic consultant called Professor Quemby. She's absolutely amazing. The trial that she put me on is the endometriosis trial, which is inflammation of the endometrium. She wanted to check if that's what was causing my miscarriages. They do a biopsy to find out whether you have endometriosis and then treat it with either doxycycline, which is the antibiotic, or a placebo drug. It's a blind trial. I didn't know if I had doxy or I didn't know if I had the placebo drug. But I knew I was diagnosed with endometriosis as well as endometriosis. I don't know whether I had placebo or doxycycline, but I felt really sick on the medications. I'm almost certain that I had doxy, but I don't know. I was too sick to attend the biopsy that finds out whether it's cleared, unfortunately. I didn't know whether it was successful or not, unfortunately. My mental health was basically getting diminished by now. My PTSD was re-triggered by all this baby loss.
Yeah.
And my nightmares just got worse and worse. I was signed off sick with re-triggering PTSD from work at the time. When I lost the twins, I buried it. I'm in recovery. I'll be 18 years sober on the 29th of April. I didn't want to drink, but I was closer to going insane. So that's when my spiritual life really helped. I have a Reiki therapist, an angelic Reiki therapist called Vicky Hughes, who has just been absolutely amazing. She's become a good friend of mine, and she helped me through my trauma and my grief by doing angelic Reiki with me. I've followed in her footsteps and I've just become qualified in the area. I hope to help other women with that. For me, medication is not the answer. Being in recovery, I found Vicky, and I just upped my Reiki sessions after I lost my twins, and especially after Quinn, I started to have more Reiki to help with my grief and trauma.
Yeah.
It really hit home after I lost Quinn. My relationship with my husband really struggled as well, emotionally and physically. You don't want them near you. Intimacy, even a hug would just make me, I don't know.
For me, it was like a protective bubble that I need to protect myself. And if I show emotion, then I'm vulnerable and I don't want to get hurt.
Yeah. And we decided to adopt a puppy before we found out we were pregnant with Quinn, not to fill the void, but we had that so much love to give. And I needed that distraction. Even waiting for her to come into our arms from a puppy, I was terrified she was going to die. I've been terrified that anyone's going to die since I've lost my twins.
Wow.
It's massively changed my relationship with my son. I was terrified anything would happen. I wouldn't even leave him in people's company. I was just that anxious. I also got baby loss counseling. I've had 2 years of baby loss counseling. I don't know if you know the Worst Girl Gang Ever.
No.
It's a podcast, the Worst Girl Gang Ever, but it's a community. I ended up doing a course through my counselor, Amy. She put me on a course called Pathway to Recovery. Was trying to come to terms with what the baby loss and giving you the strength and courage to grow. I did that course after losing Quinn. I would highly recommend it.
I think it's really strong of you to see that you needed help, and you seem like you really gathered this amazing team to really help you through all this.
Yeah, definitely a little village. I was put on progesterone to help the baby stick, as they say. They were convinced I needed progesterone to help me along. They said, take it the minute I get a positive test. I got a positive test with Kaylin, my little boy, but sadly I miscarried Kaylin at 6 weeks. So Kaylin was an early loss as well. There is light at the end of the tunnel. Even in the darkness, there is always light. That beacon of light is called hope to me. And I actually tattooed it on my foot
I
to
love
stick
that.
it's on my
Yes.
foot with a sunflower, that there is this beacon of light, which is called hope. After that, we took a bit of time. The consultant noticed I was struggling mentally. This is when she said to me, Orla, now you've lost 4 babies. You have a decision to make. You can either take a break. She said she really highly suggested I take a break from trying to conceive. She could see the heartbreak I had after losing all 4 of my babies. She said, take a break. So we decided to take a break and focus on what we had. I have a little boy I absolutely love and adore. This is when I resigned from nursing to be with my little boy, and before he went to preschool. And then one night in April, my 17th recovery birthday, we went to Postmodern Jukebox. Do you know them?
Uh-uh.
No?
Is that a
Oh, they're
band or?
amazing. They're in the States, Postmodern Jukebox. They do covers, but they're jazz and upbeat. So we went to see them. Stuart booked tickets. He booked tickets actually before lockdown and the pandemic. They had to be rescheduled all the time. Finally, we got to go in April last year. He booked a hotel, and it was lovely to have that little time away. And his mother babysat Lachlan overnight. I had a bit of worry about leaving Lachlan. We needed the break. Then we said, do you know what? If it's meant to be, it'll be. And I hate that. I used to hate that when people say, if it's meant to be, it'll be. I've been told that for years. I'm like, oh, will you
Yes.
stop? Go away, will you?
Pick a new phrase.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
It's like, or it'll happen when you least expect it. I'm like, heck off. I really
Yes, I do.
but yeah. So we did the deed, as I say, in case anyone I know was listening. And
I think
yeah,
it's so amazing how often you were actually able to get pregnant, because the
I know.
doctor at the very beginning said you
Yeah,
have almost no chance.
I know.
And here
That's
you
what I
are.
understand. Because my consultant said I had that is it hyper fertility? Is it? I should know. I've got baby brain, and I've just recently been diagnosed with fibromyalgia, so I've got brain fog is really bad as
That's
well.
okay. Okay, it says hyperfertility is women often begin their periods early, have very regular cycles. You could set a
Yeah,
clock and fall pregnant easily.
yeah, that's me. I was regular all the time.
Wow. So I'm so just in awe.
Yeah, so I didn't know I had that until I went to her anyway. So Tommy's prescribed me progesterone again, even though I had lost Kaylin. This was our last try because we were just exhausted emotionally, physically. I was
Yeah.
exhausted, mentally really strained. So this was our last time we were going to try. I would have been 42. I did a bit of the ovulation. A lot of people have their own way of trying to
Mhm.
conceive. I didn't take like really expensive vitamins. I took trying to conceive from 7Cs, which worked for me all the previous times.
Uh-huh.
With Evelyn, I completely went off tea. Even before I tried to conceive, I found out I had a deficiency with vitamin D, which can cause baby loss, unfortunately,
Yeah.
as well. I corrected that, and I started taking high strength vitamin D all through the pregnancy with Evelyn. So the pregnancy with Evelyn, I'm trying to remember when we did the test. It was just before my 41st birthday. I felt really sick when I ate. I'll never forget it. I was in town with Lachlan, and we were in the playground, and I was like, I'm going to be sick. I'm going to be sick. It was very severe nausea. And then when I got home, I vomited into the sink. So I was like, woo! I had been nauseous on Lachlan, but never vomited. I told Stuart, do you know what I do? I'm going to go and get a test. So I was due my period a couple of days on, say, so this was Thursday. I was due my period, I think the next day, actually, on the Friday.
Uh-huh.
And I'm due on tomorrow. Wait and see if the period comes. We did the test. We did it on that Thursday night around 10:30 or something like that. We had an early digital one, and they showed up before, and it said pregnant. And we're like, just looked at him and he looked at me and we burst into tears. But then because of everything that we'd been through, we're like, no, I have to do another one. I couldn't do another one straight away. I had to wait until the morning. So then we did one the morning and then it was pregnant again. And I was like, I couldn't believe it. Yeah.
Take your time.
Yeah. I just couldn't. That day, or on the Friday, I rang Tommy straight away and I said, I've just got a pregnancy positive test.
Yeah.
I started the progesterone. I was absolutely terrified because I had taken the progesterone and had miscarried Kaylin. So I was like really on edge going, God, I have to go through this again.
Yeah.
Just the doubt and the worry. I took on everything I had learned through the worst girl gang ever about trying to like breathe and stay calm. There's a woman in the States called, she's the woman that created Pregnancy After Loss, I think. Is it Lindsay Henke or something like that? She does these affirmations and I downloaded her app straight away. She's got all these affirmations saying that every pregnancy is different because it's a different egg and a different sperm. I just banged that into my head and I said, this is going to be okay. This is going to be okay. She's going to be okay. She's going to be okay. I just kept on doing affirmations every day because they told me that I wouldn't have my scan until the 26th of June. And I was like,
It's so long.
I just can't do this again. That's 3 days after my birthday. I was just panicking. Of course, Stuart being so optimistic, positive. He just uplifts me and he's like, Orla, it's going to be okay. We're going to have our baby. He says, we're going to have our rainbow baby.
Yeah.
And he's not spiritual at all, but he just believed it in his heart. We're going to go to the scan this time and there's going to be a heartbeat. If I continued to take progesterone, that made me feel sick. But I still took it. And I took the pessaries. You can take it orally, can't you? But I took the pessaries and went to the scan on the 26th, my first scan with Tommy's, and I was absolutely terrified. For me, the room of the, what you call it, the scanning room is triggering. The hospital is triggering. Someone suggested that I write it down on a piece of paper, my story, like basically that I'd had 4 losses and that I was triggered by a scanning room and that, so I didn't have to talk to them. I just handed them this piece of paper and it helped. And I said, I need to hear it straight away just to put me at ease. And lo and behold, on the 26th of June, there she was, a strong heartbeat on our little Evelyn.
How beautiful.
Evelyn means a gift wished for or longed for child. That's what her name means. It's Irish. When we got pregnant with our twins, we picked that name. But then when we found out they were twins, we picked other names. I was actually further along than I thought I was. So I went in there thinking I was about 7 weeks pregnant. And they said, no, you're 8 weeks in 1 day or something like that. I was like, oh, God.
That's
so
great.
I was further along.
Yeah.
Then they told me that she was due on the 7th of February. And my mum's dad, my granddad, his birthday is the 7th of February. He's up in spirit. So it was like a gift really that they sent us. Like he sent me Evelyn is how I felt spiritually. So yeah, so she was due on the 7th of February and we just couldn't believe it. So the next scan was at 10.5 weeks. I was taking the progesterone, I was doing the affirmations and my meditation and mindfulness and everything. I was trying to be so positive, but I was on tender hooks because that gap between it's only what 2.5 to 3 weeks gap of waiting for another scan, 2.5 weeks, I think it was, but it's still nerve wracking. I was just like, I'm never going to be able to do this. And then I was like, we have to book another scan just for my anxiety. Because my anxiety was getting worse. And Stuart was like, no, we'll just wait. You'll be okay. Just keep doing everything that they suggested. I kept doing everything that they suggested. But little did he know, I'm into my psychic mediums. I followed someone on Instagram that had a similar journey to me, had multiple losses and then had a rainbow baby. And she had a woman on Facebook that is Readings by Nick. She's a psychic medium. And she told her that she was going to have a girl. And she did have a girl. So I was like, and on one evening going, try not to look at, she does all these offers about readings and stuff like that. And she did a pregnancy and fertility reading. I got her pregnancy reading. She told me everything exact She told me I was going to have a girl, and I had a girl. She told me that I wasn't going to have an easy pregnancy, that I was going to have constantly in and out of hospital and stuff. I had that. She said about I wasn't going to have much cravings as such. Everything that she told me came true. Like,
Whoa.
I couldn't believe it because I was at another event about the story I previously told you that I was part of. I was at the book launch and I went to a psychic there, and she told me I was going to have a girl, but I had miscarried. So that was in December. And then I miscarried a baby the following January. So I was just like, whatever.
Edible.
I didn't believe her. I was like, whatever. But then when this one said it, I was like, still not believing her, but then secretly buying the little dresses.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have minded if it was a boy or a
Sure.
girl, as long as they're a healthy baby.
Yeah.
I'm blessed to have one of each living, but I wouldn't have minded another boy because we were like, oh, we'll get to use Lachlan's clothes again. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? If we had another boy anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, I couldn't believe it that she was right. I was just like, oh man, this
Wow.
is just too weird. Anyway, going back to the scan at 10 and a half weeks, I was a bag of bloody nerves. I was like, oh my God. So this scan was with actually my consultant, Professor Quemby. The previous one was with a colleague of hers, a junior kind of colleague. But this scan was with her, and she just couldn't believe it. She absolutely couldn't believe it that we were expecting. She was over the moon. And I was like terrified. She knew my anxiety and stuff like that. And I said, I need to see the heartbeat straight away before you say anything to me. That's one of the things that I had to do all through this pregnancy. So yeah, there she was, a strong, healthy heartbeat, our little Evelyn.
I get that too, because in between scans, I'm like,
Yeah.
There's so much doubt in your head, but then that scan gives so much relief hearing the heartbeat. I totally get that.
So my next scan was in 4 months, about 16 weeks. I was due to take the progesterone until the 16-week scan. So I had to wait. And I was like a further along way. So I was like, I'm not able for this.
6-week gap. That's huge.
Yeah, I know. I was like, how am I going to cope? Yeah. But she just said, continue to take the progesterone, do what you're doing, and everything will be fine. And then Stuart always said to me that everything was going to be fine. He constantly said it, even though I was terrified because we had heard that our twins had no heartbeat at 10 and a half weeks. When I went into that scanning room, that's what I expected to hear of this baby. And he was like, no, the baby's going to be there. And by this stage, we didn't know it was obviously a girl yet because it was too soon. We found out with Lachlan that we were having a boy. So I'm Irish. So our family tradition is not to find out your first baby and just have a surprise to deliver them. But the cutest little thing is they say that children are very intuitive. And our Lachlan was like, I'm having a little sister to everybody.
Wow. Before you ever found out.
We told him after the 10 and a half week scan, he was going to be a big brother, but it's a secret. You can't tell anyone. Shh. I know people say, oh, wait until the 12-week scan, but that doesn't apply to me.
Physically, how did you feel throughout your pregnancy?
Exhausted. I had endometriosis, and now I've been diagnosed with fibromyalgia, and now I know why. I have severe fatigue, and the progesterone made me even more tired. So physically, I was still able to do my dog walks with Molly at about 33 weeks. But this pregnancy, although I'm slightly older, physically it wasn't as bad. I was still high risk of delivering early.
What'd you do?
Oh, we went to one of our favorite walks. It's called Compton Verney. You'll see it on my Instagram. It's a beautiful kind of manor house, like country walk, woods and everything. We announced the pregnancy on Rainbow Baby Day. Then we did our gender reveal. After that, we went to a place called Attenborough Nature Reserve, which we both lived beside when we first met. It was quite funny because we went for the scan and Lachlan kept saying, it's a baby sister, it's a baby sister. He was so convinced. And although I had been told by a psychic it was a baby sister, I just was trying to put that off.
Yeah.
In my heart, in spiritually, I felt like it was a girl, and Stuart knew it was a girl as well. So it was really strange. And Lachlan was dead convinced it was a girl. So then when we had this private scan in place that they give you the cannons and things like that, we released the cannons in the nature reserve up in the year. We released the cannon and like it came out, spread it out in pink. And Lachlan just looked at us going, I told you it was a girl.
He
He's
already
quite
knew.
funny, bless him. He was 2.5. Yeah, he was looking at us going, I knew it was a girl, do you know?
Yeah.
You should have listened to me. Yeah.
So what were you thinking whenever you saw the pink?
There's a video on Instagram of me screaming.
Oh,
Absolutely screaming. It's joy. Obviously, I wouldn't have minded another boy. Yeah, but they're the best buddies, even though Evelyn is only 11 months and he's just turned 4. The bond between them is just amazing. Absolutely amazing.
I love that. And what about products? Is there anything that you can recommend that helped with pregnancy?
Oh yeah, going back to the pelvic girdle pain, I got a bit with Evelyn, but not as severe with Lachlan. It's magnesium that you put over your bum and then it helps you sleep. You have that restless leg towards
Yep.
the end of your pregnancy. Oh my God, I got really bad. And then you have to sleep at a certain side of the pregnancy as well. I slept on that side when I found out I was pregnant because I was so terrified of losing Evelyn. I got the big cushion out straight away and things like that. Stuart hates that big pregnancy cushion. He was delighted when he could get rid of it.
Yeah.
I have to say, we're not heavy metal fans, but we're metal fans and rock fans. In my 3rd trimester, we went to Evanescence and Within Temptation, those 2 bands,
Yeah.
yeah.
So this pregnancy was even better than the one with your first.
I think so, yeah. Obviously, mentally, it was similar. There was similar anxiety levels.
Mhm.
I thought my waters had broke. So I would have been, now let me think, I would have been about 20 something weeks. I was at risk of still delivering early. So they thought my waters might have broken, but luckily they didn't. So I was really relieved with that.
Yeah.
With Lachlan, I had lots of episodes of reduced movement, so I had to have a lot of CTG monitoring. And then towards the end of my pregnancy, Evelyn, I had to have them. Up until I had her by a C-section, I had to have her CTG monitored. And also before, I have to say, I was at risk of prolapse with her. So they admitted me a week before I had her
Uh-huh.
because it was too dangerous to send me home because the way she was lying, she was transverse. So I was at risk of prolapse, is it? Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So because we're near the hospital, but it would have been too dangerous to leave me at home.
Uh-huh.
And so they admitted me, and I was there for a week before I had my C-section with her.
Uh-huh.
And she didn't turn at all because I remember the consultant saying to me, going, "Oh, would you just have her naturally? Will you just have her naturally?" And I was like, "I'm transverse anyway, so I can't have her naturally." Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But also, I have a C-section booked. They were like, "You do realize it's surgery. I've had 3 surgeries for my endometriosis, and then I've had my son, that's 4th surgery. This is your 5th surgery." But they were trying their best to try and change my mind. And I was like, "No, I'm having a planned C-section." And then I had her at 37 weeks and 1 day. Her birthday was supposed to be 31st of January, but because of the transverse and the risk of prolapse, I was admitted and I had her on the 18th of January.
Oh, wow. And
Yeah,
just so everybody knows, being transverse means if you were standing up, she's horizontal.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. She's lying across me.
Yeah.
I was absolutely in severe pain because she's just lying like right across me.
Wow. You're
Yeah.
like, let's get this out, right?
Yeah. Yeah, but I remember going in for my last scan with Tommy's, and because I was having growth scans with her,
Uh-huh.
and they actually told me that they said you can't go home, and I was like, "What do you mean I can't go home?" And they were like, "Your baby's transverse," and I was like, "Ah, she's been transverse before. No, she's like directly across. Yeah, it's too dangerous." They said because if you went into labor, it's an emergency situation. They said you're not. Although you could get an ambulance, it probably wouldn't come too quick enough. So they were like, "You're at risk of delivering her home." I didn't want to stay in hospital. Hospitals triggered me, and I was like terrified. I was like, "Stuart, I'm not staying here. I don't want to stay here." And he's, "You're gonna have to like stay." And then it was like leaving my little boy, Lachlan. I was like, "I don't want to leave him. It's the longest I'll ever leave him." Do you know what I mean? So I had to
Yeah.
leave 7 days. I was in hospital, and then on the 8th day, I had my C-section. Yeah, and that was, oh man. And the thing is, I had to have the injections they give you, like the steroids. because
Uh-huh.
I was having her early, they gave me the steroids.
To help with her lungs.
Yeah,
Yep.
to help with her breathing. Because she was going to be an early baby, there was a risk of her going into NICU. So I had the steroids, even though they've told me there could be side effects in or complications in later life.
Yeah.
But for me, my anxiety was getting worse. She started reducing her movements that night. The night before I had her, she was reducing her movements further. And I was CTG monitored up until I went down for the delivery. So it was really nerve wracking.
Yeah.
I remember there was a lovely midwife there, and I was in bits, like, and I was like, oh my God. I was just like terrified that she wasn't going to make it, you know?
Yeah. Did they ever discuss getting her earlier than you're scheduled because of the
Um,
lack of the movement?
That's why I had that talk with the consultant about having her
Oh,
37 weeks. I was meant to have
okay.
her 39 weeks in one day. That's what the C-section was scheduled for, 39 weeks in one day, but I had
Okay.
her 2 weeks early.
Okay. So let talk us through that moment, like when you're wheeled into theater. I love calling it theater. We don't call it theater here, but I think it's much better.
I had a spinal and epidural.
Uh-huh.
Okay. And they do it differently in that hospital. So that's why I had a spinal and epidural. They told me it's because I was 6 foot tall and that it would not cover me with my back. I was a bag of nerves. They knew how anxious I was. I kept telling them I was anxious, and they knew how anxious. They could see how anxious I was because I was convinced. Stuart was like, Orla, she's going to be grand. He's not Irish, but he just says grand. She'll be fine. She'll come out screaming and that. And I was like, no, there's going to be a problem. I can see it. I don't know. I was just so full of fear that she wasn't come out breathing, and she came out absolutely yelling,
Uh,
screaming, absolute screaming. So
what
she
were your
did.
thoughts when you heard all those screams?
Oh man, I couldn't believe it. I burst into tears. We both did. We just couldn't believe. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That she was finally here. I still can't believe she's finally here. And she hasn't stopped screaming.
Yeah.
I lost a little bit of blood actually during surgery, so I had to have a transfusion. And they do the thing, they probably do it in the States, I would imagine, that they wash your blood and give it back to you.
Uh-huh.
So I lost over a liter of blood, so I had to,
Oh.
yeah, so I had to have that washed and put back into me.
Uh-huh.
That's the only complication that I actually went through.
That's amazing.
My C-section was really good. They took a look for my endometriosis and they said they didn't see much of it, which I'm relieved by
Yeah.
because I was convinced that it had returned during pregnancy anyway before that. So no, they took a look at that, which was really good of them.
Mm-hmm. And did she have
No,
to go to the NICU?
no, she didn't have to go to the NICU at all.
Oh,
Couldn't
what a
believe it.
relief. Back in recovery, how did things go after that?
So the recovery, they were transfusing my blood, and then they put her on my breast for some skin to skin. And then she tried to latch. Breastfeeding is a difficult one for me because with my son Lachlan, I managed to give him colostrum. And then because I had Evelyn early, I didn't prepare because some people preserve the colostrum, don't they? And I didn't have that. I suppose I didn't have the time, and my milk took a while to come in. And the nurse kept, or the nurse kept on putting, or the midwife kept on putting on my breast. We had made a decision that if I couldn't breastfeed Evelyn, we were going to go formula, which we had done with Lachlan because I struggled mentally with Lachlan to breastfeed. It really affected my mental health because I was absolutely heartbroken and gutted I couldn't breastfeed him. That's what I wanted to do. I had got the pump and I had bought all the tops and the dresses and the breastfeeding clothes, the pads, a really good pump and everything like that. And he just wouldn't latch. And I know you can go to latch consultants, and part of me, yeah, I should have probably went down that route, but mentally I just wasn't able to. So we gave her the bottle and she took the bottle straight away.
Oh, good. Yes.
Absolutely heartbroken that I couldn't, but mentally, for the sake of my health, my having a young child with Lachlan and everything, and a newborn baby, I just mentally couldn't go down that route because, like, I was asked, no, I was prescribed antidepressants with Lachlan's pregnancy because it mentally drained me that much. and being diagnosed with postnatal depression.
Uh-huh.
But I couldn't take them. They didn't agree with me. And being in recovery, I'm very reluctant to take medication unless I really need it. I've been on morphine with my endometriosis. I've had to go on morphine patches.
Whoa.
But because I'm in recovery, I'm really reluctant to take high level painkillers. Like even now being diagnosed with fibromyalgia, I'm going to go down the alternative route instead of going back on medication. I have nothing against people on medication, but it's just because I'm in recovery. I'm very mindful. I don't want anything that's going to mood altering substances. I don't want
Yeah.
them in my body.
Yeah, I don't blame.
I had to be referred to the mental health visitor with Evelyn's pregnancy, and I still was having my baby loss counselling, a little bit of it as well, to help me along, because I struggled. We didn't really struggle with the bond as such, but that anxiety, that fear, like going out with her, I was absolutely terrified something was going to happen to her. My counsellor, Amy, actually gave me a lend of a nanny monitor, which is the breathing monitors that you put under the cot.
Uh-huh.
And that was just fantastic, because although she was in the same room as us and she was in the next to me right beside our bed, I was just terrified that I kept staring at her constantly. It put my mind at ease that I had also a video monitor and a breathing monitor, because that anxiety, that fear was just too much.
Yeah, I get that. I can see us really going that route too.
Yeah.
And physically, how was your recovery?
So compared to two of them, I actually had a postpartum hemorrhage with Lachlan. Thankfully, I didn't this time with Evelyn, even though I had C-sections. And I think it might have been, have you heard of a pica dressing?
Huh.
It's I'm telling you different things now. It's like electronic dressing they put on you. They put it on your wound, and it helps heal it. It's about 7 days. You leave it on the wound, and then you get the nurse or the midwife comes out and she removes it for you. So that helped me heal. My wound wouldn't have been probably as healed if I didn't have that, because I struggled with my wound healing with Lachlan's pregnancy after the C-section. And then, like I said, I had a postpartum hemorrhage. I love going out. I love the outdoors and stuff. And I'm like, we didn't do too bad. I think it was 6 or 7 days when I was out first with Evelyn. There was a little bit more to recover because of losing blood. I had to be on Clexane, so anticoagulants, not anticoagulants, yeah, the injections,
Yeah.
Clexane. And I had to be on iron tablets as well, because my bloods were down a little bit from losing blood.
Uh-huh.
So I suppose I had more recovery with Evelyn, I think, really, when I say because of losing blood really affected me.
And mentally, how are you today?
Me now,
Yeah.
I'm okay. I'm grand. I got diagnosed with fibromyalgia last month. I had a feeling I had it because my friends with endometriosis had similar symptoms as me. And I was wondering whether I had it or not. And it's one of these things that you can't really be diagnosed with as such. You just have to have blood tests and whether they're elevated and things like that. All my symptoms pointed to it, but then they were symptoms of I could have had with endo. But it turns out I've got fibromyalgia. My joints are I get really cold. I'm freezing, like I get really cold to the point that my legs go numb when I'm walking and things like that. And also I struggle with washing my hair. When you're like reaching up to wash your hair, your joints, your arms and things like that really hurt. So they're signs of it. And I get really bad fatigue, as I mentioned earlier, and I've been getting that for a while. So yeah, so it's taken a while to adjust to it, but I had a feeling I had it for a good few years or months, really.
Yeah. Is there anything else you want to mention about your pregnancy or birth?
I will say is anyone that is struggling to conceive, that I think for me, it was like I had to, when I took that space and that break, I know when people are worried like about time, and I was worried about time, I don't have much time and things like that. But that break that we took did us the world of good, to be able to get your head around what you've just been through and what you could potentially go through again, but then you mightn't go through, if that makes sense. I mentioned about Lindsay Hecke or something, or Henke, the girl that deals with pregnancy after loss. She's written these affirmations. She's got an app actually that I downloaded, and it just made me believe basically that anything is possible, that pregnancy, that they're all different. I've had 5 pregnancies. Yeah, only 2 of them went to term, but they're all different, 5 little journeys, I suppose, really. And they were all similar but different in many ways, you know.
Your husband, Stuart, had a
Yeah.
vasectomy. Could you
Yeah.
share a little bit how y'all came to that conclusion to do that?
I'm one of 3, and I've always wanted 3, but to be blessed with 2 living children is just absolute miracle, really. But how do we decide about the vasectomy? I think we were talking about this the other day, and we were saying, had we been a couple, say even if I was 40 or 41 or something, we would have tried again for another baby. But because we've gone through the multiple losses and been through Tommy's recurrent miscarriage clinic and everything like that, it really exhausted us mentally and emotionally, really.
Yeah.
And it put a bit of strain on our relationship. I hate to admit that.
Uh-huh.
I will say is I hate people saying that my family is now complete, because my family is never complete. Do you know what I mean? It'll never ever be complete because there's 4 little people missing from it, really.
Yeah.
They're in my heart. Some people would see me as a mother of 2, but I'd say no, I'm a mum of 6, because I've got 4 little angels up in the sky and I've got my 2 here on earth side.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Tell us
Yeah.
about your memorials.
Uh, so I have a big love of fairies, and I've always wanted to do a fairy garden. And this Christmas, I've done a fairy garden out in our front yard, our front garden, a little fairy village. And I've got a stocking for each of my little angels.
That's beautiful. I love
I
that.
want to get some little signs to say, to give it a name and stuff.
What has been your biggest challenge being pregnant at 41?
I think it's sometimes been people, really, because some people would be like, oh my God, I can't believe, that you're going again, and the age of you. It shouldn't matter. People like would have commented about my age before. Oh, you're too old. I'm like, no,
Uh-huh.
I'm not too old.
Nope.
Especially if it happens. If you're meant to be a mum at over 40 or whatever age, if you're meant to be a mum at whatever age, whether it's 25 or 45, so be it.
Is there anything you'd recommend that would help prepare someone for pregnancy and birth over 40?
I definitely wouldn't listen to what people say, because not everyone meets their husband or partner like at 20 or 30.
Yeah.
I dated the wrong men. And I used to care what people think, but then writing the story that I talked about earlier to you, that after writing that, I don't give a fuck what people think. I just need to be myself, because that's what Stuart always said to me. He's Orla, regardless, if people don't want to be in your life for whatever reason, then just let them go.
Yep.
If they want to judge you, that's their problem, not
Yeah.
yours. So yeah, I don't know if there's anything else that would have helped me.
And what would you say to those women who are trying to conceive over 40? What advice would you have for them?
For me, I would say don't give up, keep at it. I was determined that I didn't want to give up. Even though this was our last try, I probably would have went again, even though Stuart probably didn't know that.
And what advice would you give yourself when you were pregnant if you could go back?
Probably not to worry, because I was constantly worrying, and not to be so anxious,
Yeah.
and fear as well, not to be so afraid as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I had a conversation with my husband just yesterday. I said,
Oh,
do you really believe we're going to give birth in July? And he said, yes, of course. And I was like, oh, because I'm having a hard time believing it. So I totally get it.
well, I tell you something. I had the way I like that psychic readings by Nick.
Uh-huh.
I go to medium events as well, like suppers and stuff like that. And someone said to me about a baby, that there's going to be a conversation around pregnancy and baby and everything. So I believe it's you.
I
You
love
know,
that.
yeah.
Tell us about this book you were in, about your story. If anybody wants to find more about your story, tell us about it.
So it's a project that Serena Novelli, lovely woman, and Anna Bonsera and Laura Brand, they created the Love Thy Body project. But it was the founder really was Serena Novelli. And she created this project to basically that women, how do I say, women and empower other women. It's a group that's on Facebook. It's about empowerment, women empowering other women. And it's about loving your body, basically, no matter what size or anything that you are, and loving yourself within. And it's about loving yourself, mind, body, and spirit, really. There's 3 books. So there's number 1, 2, and 3, and I'm in the third book. And it's about women's stories, about how it's about their journey of self-love and about what they go through in life to fulfill that journey of self-love. My story covers about growing up, about becoming an alcoholic and getting into recovery from alcohol. Also covers about going through domestic abuse relationship in my early 20s and coming through that. I also briefly talk about meeting my husband Stuart and going through the baby loss journey. It was done in 2020, so my rainbow baby isn't in there, but Lachlan is in there. And then my journey about becoming sober. And it has been on Amazon, and it was the #1 bestseller in the hardback as well as the Kindle version.
Did you say what the name of the book is?
Oh, sorry, Love Thy Body Project.
Where can our listeners connect with you on the internet?
I'm on Instagram at Irish Mammy _ her littles on Instagram.
Perfect. I'll make sure and leave a link to the book in the show notes for sure.
Yeah.
Orla, congratulations on your sobriety and your children. Thank you so much for sharing your story. It was beautiful.
Well, thanks.